Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to episode 52. I'm just double checking that's actually 52 of 𝗙𝗵𝗱𝗄𝗆. And today we have Josalynn and 𝗏𝗡s and Anna. And before we start, I actually want to show everyone I just changed into this t-shirt because Anna has this, not Anna, sorry, Molly has something. But you know, sorry, Molly, you go first. You show us your t-shirt. Why can't someone else just do it? And this is my version, which I actually specifically made hard to read because I don't want everyone to be able to read this. Why can't Tora just do me? So everyone can introduce themselves, and after they introduce themselves, also we're going to say our favorite conversation. So Mindy, 31, 2 kids. At some point it'll change to 32, but not yet. And my favorite conversation, the one on Regina's Peak, because they're so open with each other and they love each other so much. That's the end.
I'm Molly. I'm 50 years old. I have an 11-year-old daughter, married, live in New Hampshire. I've been a fan of like comics, manga, anime, anything nerdy like that since I was a kid. And my favorite conversation, I want to say it's probably the chapter, what was it, 47 that Anna and I did the podcast on, with Poppy and Tora in the kitchen, where he's giving her permission to talk about her, you know, when she's mad at him and all that stuff. But Regina's Peak is like a very close second.
So, hi, I'm Josalynn. I'm 36, from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and I have one little boy who's adorable. He's 4 years old. And my favorite conversation is actually more of, I guess, a thought bubble. And it goes like way back in the episodes. It's probably when Tora like is looking at Poppy on her, because I want to say it, her balcony.
Oh, yeah.
And and then he's thinking, when he's thinking about how like he's supposed to be like an intimidating person, and he's just thinking about like how does she see the world, and I love that part. I think that's what I like the most. So that's me.
I'm Anna. I'm 27, I think, 28. I don't remember. This year. Might have a birthday soon, so it doesn't matter. I'm in my late 20s. I've got 3 kids. I've been on before. And you guys are so serious in your favorite conversations. My favorite conversation was in the beginning of the series when Quincy and Tora are in the parking garage and Quincy's affected by Tora, and he tells him that he's going to tell the first girl he brings home that she's lights spiders on fire to hear him scream. And Tora, this is my favorite quote ever in the whole series, is when he says, "Yeah, that's real cute. You could try doing that, Quincy boy. That's real cute." my favorite line in the whole series. He's like, "Oh yeah, do that. See what happens."
Yeah, okay. Well, I know Patty is waiting for that conversation to happen. So one day maybe we'll be privileged and get it.
I can't wait.
Okay, so a little recap of last episode is basically Poppy drags Quincy and Tora outside and tells them, "Why didn't you tell me you were in the mafia?" She connects the dots, and Tora's like, "I tried to tell you, but then you were like going on with your stupid presentation." And wrong move, Tora, but whatever, we get it. And anyway, so they are in this, you know, Quincy then tells us, you know, I'm descendant of 2 powerful clans. That leads us to a whole bunch of theories. And here we are again. And Poppy starts off this episode by repeating her adorable, not cursing, holy shiitake mushrooms. And here she turns away. So I have to say, this whole analysis of the like confrontation between Poppy and Tora and Quincy, Patty wrote this amazing analysis on Patreon, and everything I say is going to be informed by what she says. So just keep in mind, you know, this is basically like Patty's very excellent understanding of their conversation. And one of the very first things we notice is that Poppy turns away from Tora and Quincy. So we obviously read a lot into their body language. And, you know, we talked a lot before about Tora and Quincy's body language. You know, they're like, you know, looking down, Tora has his arms over his chest, a lot of that. And now Poppy turns away, you know, it's hard for her to assimilate and handle what they've said. And she's looking down like she's contemplating. And Quincy says, he said, I'm not involved in clan affairs at the moment. What did you guys think when you heard that?
Like his father was going to be kind of forcing it. I have a feeling like he has kind of no choice. It's like inevitable. That's my view on it anyway.
I agree with that. Do you want me to go? You want to go?
I'm sorry.
Okay. I agree with that. I felt like it was kind of, what's the word? Not premonition like, but in that same kind of realm where he is kind of living in an easier life right now. He's not involved in clan affairs at the moment. He's able to write romance stories. He's able to do something that's not directly involved, but it makes me worry, makes me wonder how long or when, or is he going to have to be directly involved with clan affairs? And what does that mean? Does that mean he's in control? Does that mean he takes over Vincent's role? Does that mean he has to be in charge of Tora? What does that mean? There's a lot of open doors that statement and all of those ellipses in that sentence say. And I think Lily really left that open for a lot of interpretation and a lot of like open ends. There's a lot of guesswork there. And so it'll be really interesting to see if we ever get closure on that, maybe. I don't know.
That's really great. And I thought too about the scene with Quincy in the bathtub when he gets out and you realize he has the 𝗪𝗲𝗱𝗻 tattoo on his chest. And the first time I saw that, I thought, oh, okay, so he really is in it. Like, kind of had hopes before that Quincy was sort of like the, you know, the son that kind of just doesn't have anything to do with the clan and maybe he's not in it. But seeing that he had the tattoo, I felt like, oh, okay, so there's a side of him that we don't know yet that is tied to the clan. And I wondered, like, was he forced to get that tattoo or is it by choice? Like, when do you get that tattoo? Is it initiation, part of, you know, some kind of initiation process? But I think too, that is like a clue of his involvement or future involvement.
I'm actually thinking, like, a big thing for me is what role will Quincy play in the cartoon that relates to his clan commitment? Will he be helping Tora to get out of the clan, Poppy to get out of the clan? Will he help break the clan apart? Like, I'm really hoping that for Quincy, okay, I'll tell you what, because especially for someone like Quincy, right? Quincy's avoidant. Quincy doesn't like to have conflict. Quincy likes to just smooth things over and have things well. I wonder if like the character growth for him as a person in this cartoon will be to finally step up to the plate and, you know, do something and take responsibility and do something that's very hard for him, maybe stand up for his father, go against the clan, you know, and help save his friend or himself as well at the time. Because, you know, every person, I think, as somebody who like wants to write stories, I think a lot about, and I read a lot about how to write a story and how to develop characters. And every story, right, every character should have, like, if it's a story that has a good ending, you know, a problem, and then they hopefully overcome it. Either they overcome it or they don't. And I think for Quincy, this is his main character flaw, where he's juvenile and conflict avoidant and doesn't want to get into anything sticky. So I think this may be a great opportunity for him to grow as a character, and this would be like his final overcoming. So I'm really hoping for that. So, but he says here, I have enough sway to ensure safety for all you guys. Okay, so it's interesting. Like, I don't feel like, it doesn't sound like he feels like he has too much control. You know, he just has just enough control for that, which is, again, like also sad. Like, he's also trapped just like Tora is. And there's a panel, I love how Lily draws, this was like a shot that we've never seen before of, you know, like kind of like underneath and from the side, Poppy just looking down and absorbing this information and really integrating in, worrying and thinking, hand on her hip, you know, it's just like, it's stressful for her. And then she finally asks, she says, do I want to know exactly how this works? And you know, this is a point, right? She's, again, still not looking at them in the eye. They're all still, Tora and Quincy are still looking down. You know, this is a difficult conversation, and it's kind of, she's making it easier by not looking at them in the face. You know, that's psychologically aware of her. And Quincy says, well, as long as you're not, say, spreading misinformation about my identity and whatnot, which I don't believe you guys will do to begin with, then there's no one's getting into any kind of trouble. And I was like, spreading misinformation about my identity, does that mean like identifying him as 𝗙𝗵𝗱𝗆𝗆?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Right, which he's saying spreading misinformation, like, I think, does he mean like, oh, trying to say, no, like that would be misinformation because I don't want that to be known, right? I was trying to.
And he writes under a pseudonym, so I mean, I think he obviously wants to protect his real identity, and they know his identity now, or at least they know his legal name, I think, from contracts and stuff. So that just blows his whole identity as an author, I think.
What concerns me is it's bolded, and I can't tell if it's italicized or if that's just the font, but she went out of her way to bold it and quote it. So part of me wants to know if that's what happened in the past, or if that's foreshadowing something that's going to happen in the future, maybe with Gil, maybe with someone else. Not really sure, but it's oddly specific. And definitely not like a, oh, it's a subtle warning. It's like a, don't do this, it won't be good. And so I don't know, there's a lot of, I'm a little hung up on that sentence.
I think you're totally right, especially given what he says next. He says, and if that does happen for whatever reason, let's just say we have lawyers who take care of these things on the most basic level. I felt like that was a threat. Like, and the way Quincy looks when he says it, he looks really sad. He's looking down. I feel like he's saying it because he knows he has to say it, but he doesn't want to say it, and he doesn't want to be threatening. Yeah, so that did raise my like antennas for, did this happen in the past, or is he giving them a warning of like, don't do this because bad stuff will happen?
Yeah. I think too, if something were to happen, he would have no choice to let the lawyers take, like, he would have no control. It would be his father and the machine that is that clan to just shut things down. I don't think he would be able to stop, you know, litigation or suing or whatever the lawyers will do.
Right. That's what I was a little curious about, right? What does it mean, like, on the most basic level? Like, does it mean like legal means, like what he says, you know, Poppy asked lawyers like 𝗏𝗏, or does it mean like something lawyers plus like thugs, you know?
Well, I think too, they would enforce that non-disclosure agreement that they all had to sign. And that could, you know, if they had to pay a settlement or do something because they violated it, it could shut their business down.
I just noticed something.
Financial. I think they would go at them financially.
I think you're right on the lawyer level. I did notice something in the way Lily drew this panel that I didn't notice before, and I haven't read all 500 and some comments on Patreon. I just kind of didn't this week. And
that's my job.
So I don't know if anyone's mentioned this or noticed this or not, but in the ones that I've read on Facebook and elsewhere, I haven't seen this yet. But he says, let's just say we have lawyers who take care of these things, and then in the next panel, on the most basic level. So on the most basic level, the lawyers take care of these things. In that panel, Quincy's barely in the screen.
Yeah.
And the camera is panned over, like it's a movie. It's been panned over into Tora. So does that mean that if it's higher than the most basic level, Tora is the dog that has to take care of these things?
Yep.
Pretty sure.
Because
so.
that's good.
Yeah. That's what I thought too, that he's the part that is like the thug part. Threat.
Yeah, he's like the higher than the most basic level. This guy's got to come and break your arms or worse.
Yeah.
And I mean, already, like, he looks like he's probably thinking the same thing, like, I've done this before, you know, I know what it entails, and he's already looking pretty, I don't know, just worried about this whole conversation in this panel also. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Very ashamed. I mean, he doesn't look up for almost the entire time. He's silent, doesn't look up. He's embarrassed. He can't participate. This is like really hard for him.
Mm-hmm.
And something that Patty was saying actually, that the fact that he doesn't run away or respond gruffly like he did in the restaurant, that's kudos to him. He isn't emotionally ready to talk with her a lot, and we'll see that like throughout this whole episode, but he is at least staying put. So, you know, I definitely understand it. Like I have a family member who also like his behavior is not the way that people would want it to be, but like he shows up, you know, he's definitely like completely closed off from the past and, you know, bugs everybody because there's a lot of things that like in his behavior that aren't ideal, but he does show up and he cannot talk about the past, which is, you know, show a sign that he's just not processed it yet, but he's there. So, you know, sometimes we have people whose situations and reactions aren't ideal, but we have to give them credit for what they're capable of right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Poppy's still not looking. She says lawyers like Cordy, which is, you know, credit to her, because when she was back at the restaurant, she was like, oh, you're a lawyer. This is amazing. Like shady business didn't cross her mind, which every single other patient fan was like, Cordy equals shady. But she puts it together now, which is good for her. And Quincy says she's not working for my family, but pretty much, yeah. So Patty was like, and, you know, everyone else is like, okay, so Quincy is with, you know, like this girl who's from working for an opposite clan, like that seems pretty dangerous. Like, you know, Quincy is also, besides her, like Tora getting himself involved with someone he shouldn't get involved in, Quincy may also be doing the same thing. So more Romeo and Juliet all over.
I was convinced that she was with an opposing clan just because the fact Tora had no idea who she was. And he's pretty high up in the organization, so you would think he would know who everyone is. And so I just always felt like Quincy's playing around with dangerous, you know.
That's Quincy. And that might be why Cordy, I think it was also Patty was saying, that might be why Cordy isn't reciprocating as much as she perhaps may want to, because she's like, okay, can't be with you, Quincy. So, you know, we can do one night flings maybe, but not more than that.
Or she might even not be with the clan. She might be, I almost thought she might be like a prosecutor, like you know, like she might be a federal prosecutor, or I don't know. She's
a judge, a lawyer.
No, I just thought, you know, there was something very ambiguous about the way she talked about herself, and I don't think he's supposed to be with her.
Which I hope will motivate Quincy. Maybe that'll be another motivation for him to want to break the clan apart as well. You know, Tora's love and his love. Maybe Cordy will be helpful, because Cordy seems to have a very strong backbone. So I hope she will be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. So Quincy at this point, you know, he does look up, what? Meeting under 10 minutes? Well, I have a unlimited account. It's through school. Hold on, I don't know why this is happening. We may have to do 2 recordings because I have no idea why. Anyway, okay. We may have to end in a bit. So anyway, Quincy says at this point, to be honest, this isn't always easy to talk about, at least for some of us, even for someone as shameless as me and in my position of privilege. So he does look up to her at this point, which I like. You know, Quincy is, again, more of Patty's words. Quincy is the one who is, like she calls him a wordsmith. You know, he's the one who's fluent with his words, and he's kind of taking like the big brother position here. Tora is silent, he's gruff, he's unable to speak. So Quincy is speaking for him. And, you know, he's admitting, I like how he's very self-aware that he's shameless usually and can talk about anything, but even this is hard for him to talk about. And, you know, she noted that like his hands are like clenched together. It's a lot of anxiety. But he is looking directly at her, which kudos to Quincy for his courageousness for that. And he says, like, apart from the risk factor you've quite correctly identified, there's also all that stigma and judgment and shit. And really, we just want to live normal lives like everyone else, like those for those like me and Tora. And I think he's also noting that not everybody in the clan wants to live a normal life. You know, there are people in the clan like him and Tora who are normal and like would say, you know, relatively good. I think he's pointing at like there are people in the clan who are just nasty. So they're not trying to get out. Right. But this is quite profound. You know, the look on his face is pretty dejected and depressed. Quincy's usually making this like smiley face and like just putting on these exaggerated features. And he's really talking directly and honestly now. And he's flat. He looks kind of flat and somber. You know, he's being honest finally and real and confronting his own feelings instead of pushing them away. And, you know, and now we have, we do like Quincy, Tora was cut out of the panel before and his face was hidden for like most of this episode so far. But now we finally see Tora's face and it's sad, you know, Quincy's looking up and he's like pleading with Poppy. So I hope you guys won't see us any differently just because of who we are. And Tora's looking down and you can tell he's really, you know, listening and attuned to her reaction. And, and the next panel, Quincy being adorable, he's like, especially Tora, he's a little sensitive. Tora just like rolls his eyes, popping up.
And that vein just popping out, it's just perfect. Yeah.
He's adorable. And, you know, Quincy, I think on the one hand, like, I think he genuinely means it. I think he recognizes Tora is sensitive, but it's also funny. And I think he's trying to lighten the mood because he still is Quincy after all.
Right.
Background becomes yellow, sign of humor, you know, something funny. But he does look up. You know, Tora does look up and, you know, looks at Poppy's expression, I think, to try to gauge how she's going to react. So, yeah. And she still turned away from them, looking down, not looking at them. And she says, well, now she looks back. I had some initial misgivings and look on her face is like very, very earnest. And, you know, please believe me, please see me, please understand. And then she says, but since then, I've never seen Tora as anything but a regular guy. I mean, sure, a grouchy one, but that's about it. And Tora has been looking down. Quincy has this like pretty surprised expression on his face. And, you know, there's another panel just of Poppy looking at them, which I think, again, to me is very like earnest, like, believe me, I'm here, like steady. And Tora looks up. Ah, I love it because he's, you know, like the girl he's interested in just said she views him as a normal guy. This is incredibly validating for him. And, you know, he's like, I think incredulous. I think he doesn't really believe it. And he wants to look at her and assess, like, does she really mean what she's saying?
Maybe in a way, he's also thinking like, well, she's not running away either. Like, you know, maybe he thought, you know, she would take this like, okay, well, I should stay away. I should, you know, maybe we shouldn't even get into this contract. Like, maybe he's just thinking like, maybe, you know, she might run, but she's not, you know. So he looks at her and it's like validation where she just thinks you're a guy, you know. And that's great. Yeah, I love that.
I also love Quincy's expression. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell because it's the profile, but it almost looks like he's got this look of like, I don't know, it's quizzical, but also like compassionate or just like, see, buddy, I knew she wouldn't. Like, I mean, just in his mind, you can almost hear he's looking at Tora to see his expression of like, you know, she's accepting you and he's happy for him almost, but there's to me, the way I see it with the eyebrow and everything, just he really wants to see what Tora's expression is because he's happy for him or he feels relief or something. I don't know.
It almost looks like he's like in his, it looks like he's going, did you hear that, bro? Like,
right.
I need to make sure you audibly heard what she just said to you. Did you hear that? Like, holy cow, we've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
To me, it looked like he was, I heard it. Are you alive? Are you conscious?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
My friend really looks at another friend too. I mean, it's not that boss bodyguard sort of, it's
two brothers looking at each other.
Sweet. I love these two. By the way, I just want to note about Quincy, like that panel before where you see him like with his arms, with his hands clenched. My thought was like, Quincy, I kind of want to sit in your lap right now, but like all those, you know, you're wearing shorts, your sleeves are rolled up, you see your amazing muscles and on your feet and your arms, and they look amazing, gorgeous. I tried to get my dear husband to work out, but sadly he is intellectual. He works out his brain. He doesn't work out anything else. Shame. He's 6'4",
with you.
huge. He's got big shoulders. He has great blonde hair. And I always tell him, like, you have a gorgeous body, and if you would work out, I will. I try to tell him all these motivating things, but he just makes jokes because, like, he's not motivated by anyone else's attention, or like, if I could tell him, oh, everyone would look at you on the street, he'd be like, roll his eyes. Anyway, and then I try to tell him stuff about like things I would do if he was more worked out, but I do them anyway, even though he's not. So like.
Listen, I understand your pain, Wendy. I can't get my husband to work out. He claims, and I believe this, he's a farm kid. He's always been like freakishly strong. I kid you not, his arms are like this big around. He's very, very strong, capable. He does things that are like superhuman. It blows my mind. But he's 38 this year, and he's a little soft around the middle. And I was like, hey, baby, some steps. And he was like, that hurts my back. And I was like, some leg ups like on a bar. And he was like, oh, I don't need to work out. I've always been fit. I've never worked out a day in my life. Why do I need to start now? Or don't. It's fine. Okay. And this doesn't make anything. I'm like, you could look like this with a little bird.
Like, have you seen this? I want it.
But he's so alpha male, and he'd be like, whatever. You're already married to me. Why do I need to work out? You already love me. You haven't left yet. I'm like, do I need to leave for you to work out? Like, is that what needs to happen? Because I'll leave for a while. I live with my dad. Fine. Ridiculous. I feel your pain.
That's 38 too, and he complains of creaks and all the time. I'm like, yeah, you've never exercised in your adult life. Of course your body hurts you. Like,
yeah. Like, if you would move, you probably wouldn't be so sore. I don't know. Blood flow? That beats me.
Whatever. He's cute. That's how they are. So, moving aside from the lovely princess, and then Poppy looked down. She says, anyway, I'm not here to point fingers. I just wanted to get some answers so I can go into this with both eyes open at the very least. So thanks for being forthcoming about this, even though you didn't have to. And again, like, I love Poppy. Like, she's really, really very validating. It's very emotionally sensitive of her to really, you know, say that I know that it was hard for you to talk about, and I appreciate it. And that's what takes a lot. I think that's very mature of her.
Mm-hmm.
Although I feel like although she's like that, I just don't feel like she understands what she's really getting into yet, because she doesn't understand
the severity of.
Yeah. I think, you know, I guess she'll find out, because I think that's where this is headed now. After this episode, I was just like, yep, she's gonna see something, and you know, so I guess we'll find out. Yeah.
Off right now,
first into that.
Yeah, we're gonna kick it off. I'm gonna send you another link. I think maybe I didn't sign in with my school. Okay, so anyway, Poppy has just been very, you know, mature with them and direct with them. And now she asks, she looks up with this worried expression on her face. She says, but there's just one thing I don't get. And I think like Tora's looking very apprehensive at this point. This isn't an issue for you, but what about for Tora? And yeah, Tora definitely looks apprehensive. And I find it interesting also that she's not even asking Tora directly. She's asking Quincy, like, and Quincy is speaking for Tora. And she says, you don't have to answer, you know, she stammers. She's like, you don't have to answer my question if you're not comfortable, of course. I don't mean to be nosy, which again, like she sees, he looks down right away. Like, so I think she sees that he's uncomfortable. I mean, he hasn't spoken again this whole time, but like, this is like another sign of discomfort. He just looks down, avoidant. So she's giving him an out, you know, or she's giving them an out to not talk about it. And, you know, she has these like concern marks all over. And Quincy looks down, he has a sweat mark on his face, and he's like, unfortunately for Tora, it doesn't quite work in the same way. Being in his position comes with, shall I say, a harsher set of rules and circumstances. Yikes. Sad. This whole sentence is just very sad.
Before we move on to the next three panels, I noticed something in this that is very aesthetically pleasing. It goes along with the cinematography that Lily Dusk does. I don't know if it's intentional. I don't know if it's just her brain is, but we talk about that a lot on here. And in this set of conversation where Poppy Land says, her anyway, I'm not here to point fingers, and you see it kind of pans, it starts out and pans in. In the background, there's a cityscape. Has anybody, boy, let's try that again. Has anybody here, not like in general, I know there's other people from Colorado in the fan base, been to Denver, Colorado?
No.
Because if you look at the cityscape, I kid you not, it's Denver. Like, I don't know if that was what she did, it was like an accident, but if you zoom way in, there's mountains in the background, and then there's that weird building that looks like a mailbox. And if you're a local from Colorado, I live in Colorado, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But I kid you not, I'll have to screenshot this at some point and then put it.
I can share my screen now. Let me share my screen. I just did a search of Denver, Colorado.
Like a cityscape view looking west or south or something like that. It's the craziest thing, but you'll see there is, so right there in the middle row on the right-hand side, there's the mountains, and then there's the buildings. And you'll see that one that's got like a notch taken on top, looks like like an old school mailbox receptacle.
Yeah, I see it.
With the pink skyline.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the scenery in the background going, wow, the scenery is gorgeous. I went, wait a minute. Wait just a damn minute. That's Denver. And I don't know if it was intentional or if she just did it by chance, but I fangirled really hard at that because I'm a Colorado native, and
that's really cool. That's
Wow.
very cool.
Good eye, Anna.
Yeah. I'm impressed.
Now I'm like interested. I'm like, so because the person doing the backgrounds, Paul Jun, I think, is the one who does them, right? He I was like, where is he living? Like, maybe he's using his own backgrounds, but no.
He lives in Denver. Nobody knows.
No, I don't think so though, because like I'm seeing him here, and I don't think that's where he's from. But yeah, no, that maybe he saw it and said like, okay, this is nice. Like, I like these buildings that do this, you know, like,
and the mountains in the background. That's very aesthetic. And I was like, I've been there a lot.
Well, I know like a lot of webtoon creators, like the Korean manhwa is what they're called, like instead of manga. But they have a stock archive of stock pictures that they can that are free, that they often, and they have a running joke. I can't remember what it's called, but in a lot of the fantasy ones, there's this particular castle that is in so many different webtoons, and they just make the look of it, or they might shade it differently. But there's a joke about the name. I can't remember what it's called, but they have like a funny name for it now because it's like Spot the Castle in the latest fantasy.
I know what you're talking about.
It's like this pink castle. It almost looks like the Disneyland castle, but it's in every like fantasy princess webtoon. Somebody's plunked it in there. And I wonder if this is if they've taken a skyline of Denver and just, you know,
maybe
look like this and put it into their stock. Who knows?
Yeah. But I'd share that little Easter egg.
Thanks for mentioning the scenery, because I forgot to mention, but this episode I really loved like the whole scenery, like it's just very, you know, when you have just like human beings need to see space. Like, we can't just be holed up in a wall like 2 feet ahead of us. We need to see like long distances, you know, like 100 feet, whatever, you know, to make our eyes like relax. And I find that seeing like long distances in the cartoon also has the same relaxing effect for me when reading it. Besides for like, you know, seeing the flowers and nature, it's good to have like a variety of backgrounds and scenery, and I like it. You know, it also feels very, very, very realistic. Like, my mom's Israeli, and I know this is not in Israel, but Israel has a bit more of the architecture that is here than in America where we live. So I like seeing it, you know, like the way the sidewalks are done, and like the fences and the apartments and like the bathrooms, like it's much more Israeli/European, and I guess Asian than in America. So it's nice. I appreciate, you know, that setting.
But we've seen this setting before in one of the episodes, actually, when she's talking. And I don't remember what episode that is for some reason. I'm trying to like,
it's early. It's the one where she just got done getting drugged through town with Tora.
It's think it's episode 10 or 14.
Right.
Like
I can
that.
always look back.
He's sitting with
at
their
it.
dean.
Right.
Also, this kind of looks familiar. Do you remember when, right before Tora goes to meet her at Alice's restaurant, when he comes out of the Black Swan Bistro and he runs through the streets, he runs through an area that's like right next to the water. So it kind of looks like this area. So I'm wondering if they're like close to each other, or if this is along, you know, along
maybe.
shore. So they're somewhere near the shore, which is where the trendy
I
restaurants are.
Mm.
Yeah. I appreciate that there's snow on the mountaintops in the background. Being somebody that lives in the Rockies, there's always snow all the time, all year round in the background at any given point of the year at 14,000 feet. And so I was like, oh, I relate. It's cold there, but it's also March. So, I mean, it's barely springtime here, at least in March. Still got like 8 feet of snow in the yard at that point. But that's the little things that she tucks in there, that they tuck in the background. And I'm like, oh, I relate. Being somebody that lives in, you know, extreme rural America, it's hard for me to connect sometimes, but this helps.
Cool. Well, maybe they'll go, besides for the beach, maybe they'll go to some rural farm and saddle shop.
We don't need that. It's unnecessary. I'm good with mountains. Mountains are fine.
So anyway, so Poppy says, oh, I see. And she looks, you know, like anxious and I think, you know, worried for Tora and, you know, sometimes maybe like a little nervous that she brought up something sensitive for Tora, you know, that like a bad part of his life. Tora finally gets the courage to speak. He just still doesn't look at her. And I get it, and he doesn't even say a full sentence. Like it's really hard for him to say what he's about to say, but he does manage to say it. He says, not nosy. I'll tell you some other time. Like you can just hear him like muttering it out of under his breath. Like he can barely say it, but he does say it. And again, Patty says like, she's so proud of him for, you know, wanting to connect with her and like wanting to share his burden with her. And, you know, he doesn't manage to quite do it, like, as we'll see, but he wants to do it and he plans on doing it. So, and he tells her that. So good for you, Tora. And again, like seeing him slightly come out of his shell. And this whole episode and this whole comic is like him going, you know, back and forth, 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards. Like they connect, he, you know, and they distances, they connect, he distances himself. Like it's very hard for him to open up to her. And I get it. He doesn't have trust. He doesn't have faith. He doesn't have belief in the future or in himself. And it's hard, but we're watching him hopefully grow and come out of his shell.
I think it's really interesting here that he says not nosy, and I'll tell you some other time. Like you said, it's a huge build trust. In contrast to, say, when she cornered him about him catching her from the tree, running from Alice's, he was like, you're stuffing me in the wrong box. He was like, you saved my life. And I'm, what? And now she's literally prying into his personal life. And he's like, I ain't nosy. Like, what a difference. 2 weeks and this guy's life is made. Where he trusts her to the point where he's like, I'll tell you, but I feel like he's like, maybe I won't, because that means you're gonna run away and then you're gonna leave for good and I'm gonna be lonely some more. And so I don't know, it's just such a huge character development for him to be like, that's fine, I'm not gonna run away, I'm not gonna throw a tantrum, I'm not gonna attack you until you're stuffing me into the wrong box like I did 2 weeks ago. You're good, we'll be fine. So yeah.
Now, you know, and she has that last look is like this very, how would you describe that look on her face? Like very attentive to him and like concerned for him. Like you could just see her like warm heart. You can see why Tora like is interested in her, because she's so warm and so attached to him and like really cares about his feelings.
It's very genuine.
Yeah, she's genuine, but she's and also I'm kind of sad that Tora didn't see this face, because I think he would have been like, okay, let's talk now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quincy, oh my God.
Quincy has had enough. Quincy's reached his limit of emotional vulnerability. He's like, well, I have been. Now that all the nitty-gritty's out of the way, back to like his, you know, flamboyant, ebullient personality. Are we still up for that party? Quincy. You know, and Poppy and Tora are like totally not on board with this. Poppy's still looking at Tora. Tora's still looking down, and Poppy's still looking like sympathetic. You know, they're still in the moment.
I think it's a bigger moment for them though than it is with the three of them. Like for Quincy, it's like, okay, whatever, let's done it. But like this is a huge step forward for them in their relationship, even just their friendship. This is humongous. And so the hesitation between Quincy being like, we still have for that, and then like just completely ignoring him is appropriate, I feel, because they're both like filing, ruminating, thinking about what just happened and that nobody's running, and like Tora didn't run off, Poppy didn't run off. They're both like, we're both still here and this is fine. Okay, now what? And so I think it was good that that was just the way it was, because I think if it had been like, sure, yeah, it would have felt wrong. It would have felt like somebody stuck a stick in the gears.
I think what was I gonna say? I think maybe like Quincy's probably been through this kind of like thought process before, like what if someone finds out who I am and whatever, like even in the old where he used to have an editor or whatever, like maybe he already thought like, okay, well, these are the repercussions and this and that, but maybe like Tora's just like, well, if you know, he's more worried about like, okay, Poppy's gonna find out about my life than Quincy's just like, well, my name could get out there, you know. So for him it's like a lighter kind of thought, like mood. He's already thought about it, whereas Tora's just like, well, I don't want Poppy to know. That's basically it. So yeah,
it's really interesting that you bring that up. That didn't occur to me before you said that, but so Tora and Quincy basically live opposite lives, where Quincy doesn't want the general public to know who he is, but personal people can. And Tora is literally known as the legendary Tiger 𝗟𝗏. Everybody that knows him or knows anything about the underworld knows who he is, knows his reputation, knows what he does for a living, and he doesn't want his personal life to get out. And so it's such
like
words, different opposites.
Yes, two sides of a yeah.
And so I think that that's why the conversation happened the way it did, because they are two sides of the same coin, really. So I'm glad you brought that up.
I love this analysis. Like, you know, my undergrad is in English, and we did a lot of like literary analysis, and you know, it's like a whole field. And I totally feel like what we're doing in this podcast is literary analysis. You know, with the parallelism, the metaphors, everything. Thank you.
I live
really
for it. My poor husband.
Awesome. So, Molly, do you want to take over the panel summary for this next part?
Sure. So it says, after that conversation, the next few days passed in a blur, and we see Quincy, you know, chatting with Poppy in the office, and the summary says Quincy dropped by for brainstorming sessions, and Tora joined him as well. And, you know, she looks, I don't know, kind of sad. I mean, just in that one scene where she's looking over, and then in the next panel, she sees Tora and Jacob. It's Jacob, right? From complete blank, like Jason? No, Jacob. Chatting over there by the little kitchenette. And she goes on to say, and I was hoping things would go back to normal again between us, now that everything's out in the open, or rather in spite of everything being out in the open now. But it feels like the opposite is happening instead. This just broke my heart when I read this part. And, you know, she's watching, and it looks like Tora and Jacob are just like having a great laugh. And she's on the outside looking at that and feeling, you know, I think probably lonely and sort of lost as to what's happened. It's been a couple of days if he's been just not talking to her. And then, you know, we see another panel of Jacob walking away, and then Tora does that side glance over to Poppy. I don't know. When I saw this panel, I thought, is he feeling like he catches her staring at him and then just doesn't know how to react because he realizes he was being watched talking to Jacob, but yet he hasn't talked to her in days. I mean, that's the impression I get. I don't know what you guys think that expression is on his face, but it looks a little surprised that she's looking at him.
Sorry, go on.
I think maybe he really is avoiding this because it's really a hard conversation, and I think like when he spots her looking at him, it's more of a, oh right, I should just be, you know, avoiding. I don't know. I just feel like he just doesn't want to get into it, and I think that's why, I don't know, he's not ready for that.
Right.
I'm thinking. Yeah.
I found analysis on this that I wrote down off of Patreon when I briefly scanned through there this morning that really clicked with me. And so it has to do with this scene. Monica wrote it, and she said, in quotes, "I'll tell you some other time," end quote. She said, "I feel that Tora feels that she will definitely not want anything to do with him once he tells her about the reality of who he is and what his life is. And this is him dragging out the time he feels he has left with her because he doesn't want to lose her yet." So he's just kind of giving her the cold shoulder and the standoff because he's afraid to be open, because once he is, that's it, and the relationship is over in his head. That's what he thinks. And so he's just playing the silent stoic guy to keep it, not only to keep the relationship stable for as long as it can, but also for Quincy's sake, because Quincy just landed this publishing job. He doesn't want to ruin it for Quincy, and so he's just trying to do what he can to keep everything going like it should without ruining things for everybody. So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting though. So I wanted to mention that. I found that this morning. I thought it really hit the nail on the head.
I wrote that down too, by the way.
That's good.
Sad.
I know this whole section just made me really sad. You know, obviously it's hard for him to talk about stuff anyway, and then this is like the big conversation, the reality that determines their future and how she's going to accept him or not. I mean, it's huge. The repercussions are huge. But at the time, I feel like, where's the guy in the kitchen, you know, extending himself to her? And I just felt really, I don't know, I just felt really sad for Poppy, understanding still that this is really hard for him. And I think that's such a great comment from Monica too, about just him wanting to stretch this out for as long as he can before he has to have that big conversation and possibly lose her. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, come on, Tora. He should trust her a little more. But again, I don't know. I know it's hard to have a conversation like that, I'm sure.
I think another thing to remember is he had already made a decision in the past to kind of leave her be and have her life, you know, return back to normal.
Right.
But now, you know, just doesn't seem to be going that way anymore. And I mean, this is why I think it's harder. Like when they saw each other at the restaurant, it was like a real huge surprise. And now it's like, okay, well, now we're stuck with this. And I don't know. Yeah, I think that's where he's kind of like struggling to like the decision he had made is kind of going back onto like not being made anymore, you know. I don't know.
Right. I mean, the other part of me too is like, obviously he's being professional by not fraternizing with Poppy in the office, but apparently, I mean, it just is very clear he hasn't talked to her outside of work either, of seeing her. So I can understand this in the office setting, that he's just being there when Quincy's there and whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think this is just really hard for him. Very, very hard.
That 𝗪𝗲𝗱𝗃 phrased it very well. She said that, you know, he's afraid that she'll reject him and he doesn't want to give her a chance. And she said he wants her to accept him, but how can she accept him if he doesn't accept himself? And I think that is so true.
Yeah, very.
I talk a lot about like my husband and his background here. So my husband, I always wonder, like I tell my husband, like I talk about you all the time on the podcast, and I'm like, hope he doesn't mind his private life being shared, like just to every Myth Unpopular fan. But and I especially hope honestly his well, I guess I would say his parents, but it's really his mom and his stepmom, because, you know, I talk about them and I don't want to impugn them. You know, everybody was, even if they weren't able to provide the best environment for him, his mother definitely loves him. And his stepfather passed away. They're both alcoholic, and his stepfather basically drank himself to death. So anyway, the way that, like, you know, for many years, I grew up in a very positive home with a lot of self-confidence and love and affirmation. And, you know, I walk around with a very positive self-image. You know, I love myself. And it like shocks me, like that my husband, you know, he's 38 now. We've been together for like we met 11 years ago. And he doesn't even have a fraction of like the self-appreciation that I do for myself. And I look at him and I'm like, you're smart, you're kind, you're giving, you're generous, you're easygoing, you're non-judgmental, I mean, he's a genius. And I'm like, if I was him, I would like be so arrogant, it would be like insane. And he just like doesn't see himself as anything. He has like very low self-confidence. And it's I know like the years together with me have helped him, but like it's gone from like rock bottom to like this level. And Tora really reminds me, I mean, attitude-wise, they're very, very different. My husband's very gentle, and he kind of went the opposite way. Tora became very tough. My husband became a little bit like the opposite. Maybe what's the opposite of tough? That's not a whatever. Not whiny, but like whatever. Very soft and maybe a little incapable. But I really see a lot of that reflected. You know, if it's not Tora and my husband, like don't believe in themselves. They don't believe that they're capable of being loved. That they're good. Like it's so hard to see where like an outsider can see all the good points. Like Poppy sees Tora and she's like, you're a good guy, you saved me. And you know, we as the readers, we see all the good things that Tora does. And Tora does not see himself that way. And he just really doesn't believe in himself and doesn't believe that Poppy will be able to accept him. And yeah, it's sad. And, you know, I hope that we know that, like, since this is a romance where things will end well, at some point, Tora will be able to accept her love and slowly but surely, you know, hopefully build up his self-confidence and, you know, self-image. So it's good to see.
It's really good. So moving on from that, that glance that he gives her, I mean, again, going back to this summarization of Poppy's thoughts. The few times I tried talking to him, I wanted to tell him it was okay and nothing changed. And then she's got a cute little expression on her face, thought bubble. They're getting along so well, so cute. I mean, so at least, you know, that was like a glimmer of hope about like her not being too sad. I was just worried that she was going to be super devastated, super, you know, but at least she can see sort of that it's a Poppy. She can see the silver lining in a situation and that they're getting along. And then I really don't see him any differently. And that's it's like, Tora just needs to know that. But again, you know, she really cares about him and everything. And so it continues the two next panels where he still looks at her and then he looks away and he's looking down. And then she says, but all he did was avert his gaze and avoid me altogether. And again, it made me so sad.
Did you notice that there's a lot of parallelism, because there's the panel of Tora looking away at blank and then a panel of just the kitchen with him gone. And it really reminds me of when Tora had dropped her off at her house and he looks back at her apartmentscape and he sees like a vision of her and then the vision of her is gone and he's sad. So it like really reminded me of that. And like, you know, here Poppy is sad. And did you also notice, by the way, where Poppy's like, oh, they're getting along so well, so cute. I don't know about the getting along so well part, because first they're laughing and then in the second panel, Jacob walks away in a huff and Tora's grinning like a Cheshire cat. He's clearly done said something very obnoxious to him.
I thought more like, okay, Tora just really did something terrible to Jacob. Said to him or really yanked his chain about something because it was, yeah, the expression was kind of funny.
Really, really cute.
Yeah.
You know, I always think back, like when, you know, Erdine's like, oh, he's a douchebag, and Tora's like, yeah, she's not wrong. Like, yeah, you know, Tora has that irritating side to him. He's sweet to Poppy, but he's probably very obnoxious to everyone else.
I also love the posters with the affirmation statements on them too. I just think that's so funny. Tora standing in front of them. Kind of like the ones that were in, doesn't Quincy have someone in his apartment too? On the wall that he had something, I feel like he had something in the hallway that was similar, not similar to this, but just a similar kind of statement of something. But then, so the next scene is Quincy peeking his head around. Pops, you ready? And then I assume they're having a meeting or something. And then she says, and he never did tell me about it like he said he would. And then she says, oh yeah, wait for me. So she's been waiting for this conversation.
Yep. Another empty scene again. You know, it's like more emptiness. And emptiness obviously is like loneliness, right? Opposite of connection. There's no human connection there. Yet.
Yeah. And then it segues into, it says, and in any case, I decided to go ahead with the party. And then I'll stop there. Do you want to take over, Anna?
Sure. We segue into a street. I was trying to decide if it was like an alleyway or a street. I think it's a street. And there's a building with, I don't know what these are. I don't know CD terms, like checkerboard lights on it. It says, I have to zoom in on Princess Hotel 2F. I don't know. And there's, I don't know what these are called either. Kanji? I don't know what any of this says. But there's been a lot of speculation about this hotel regarding a specific Suki garden, question mark. Or does Quincy own this? Is this his hotel? Is this why he has his Prince Quincess nickname? Nobody knows. But she dedicated an entire scene to the front of this building, so it's got to be important. Anyway, and then we go down and it says, I feel bad. Oh.
And your video disappeared. Oh, there it is.
There we go. I feel bad that I had to press them for answers, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it. And then we have a scene with, are these called kanji?
If they're Japanese, they're called kanji, which they're based on the Chinese characters.
Okay, so is that wrong? Or am I saying that? I
don't think so. Because we don't know what, because Lily hasn't been, she's just said, you know, Naren City is an amalgamation of a lot of different cultures and cities, but we kind of have a feeling it's set in Asia, but she hasn't been specific, like that it's specifically Japan or Korea or China or whatever. But I know there's just been a lot of Japanese influence, but I think it's okay to call it kanji.
I think it is, yeah.
I'll keep. And I don't know, like I said, but there's been some decoding. And is this the one that says fall? Question mark, maybe? I don't know. But it says something,
like that.
And there's been some guesswork on it. It says, I did what I had to do, and at least it was resolved amicably. And then we see Poppy in her cute dress coat and a little purse with a chain on it. She looks great. And some faceless, colorless folks, because they're just in line. And a cobblestone walkway.
I bet you the one in front is Poppy's mom.
You could be right. I bet you're right. I think you're onto something.
Yeah, I mean, like, the hair color.
Yeah. She's a woman, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. All the proof we need.
Every person in the seat is Poppy's mom. And so we don't know where this is coming from. It says, sorry, hun, you're at the wrong place. It says, I did realize one thing, though. Her inner monologue is still going. And she says, what? I've got an invitation. I'm a guest under the name of Quincy B. Yeah, sure. Like, no, you're not. He wouldn't be in the company of likes you. People are, oh, I'm not there yet. But you can't just get in with an invitation alone. There's a dress code to enter, and this ain't it. Like, you're not allowed to wear a coat. Like, you gotta be cold and miserable if you want to come to this place. No coats allowed.
By the way, he's judging her for her appearances, just like people always judge Tora for her appearance.
And can I just say,
And,
that little scene of her standing there with her coat and her purse, it's like that style. It just reminds me of like, it's like a little Jackie O jacket, like a Jacqueline Onassis, like Audrey Hepburn, like sort of 60s style coat. I just love it. I love the little purse. It's just so put together, and it's just adorable.
Hair.
Oh,
She's
I know,
pretty
right?
cute.
So cute.
Box hat, and she's all set.
And then we got bleach blonde bouncer dude who's gonna be a jerk and not let her in. And then we're back onto her
Sexy
inner
shoes, though, by
monologue,
the way.
yes.
Sorry. Her shoes are sexy.
Showing a heck
Her
of a
coat
lot
is
of
cute.
leg too. If I showed that much leg, people would be having a hard time because I'm all legs and it's an issue. And so we're back to her inner monologue. I'm tall, so I wear short things. People are like, oh God, that's too much leg. And I'm like, sure, you're 5 foot and you can wear a dress that short, but I can't. This is hypocritical. Whatever. Anyway, we bounce back and forth between her inner monologue and what's going on in the scene. And when I read these, I read them as one, and then I go back and I read the inner monologue to kind of get a feel for it. Apparently, Buddy by the head nods. Everyone else too. I thought I was the only one who's always running from problems and essentially from myself. But this is, and then she's not yelling, but she's frantic. But this is just a coat. I'm not going to wear it once I get inside. You can tell there's people behind her getting mad and impatient. And she said, well, then take it off or step inside. You're holding up the line. Next guest, please. And he doesn't even give her a chance to take it off and like get in the door. He's like, nah, you're not actually going to do that. Go over there. And she's isolated in the dark. If we're going by light and dark stands here, she's been shoved out of what is barely lit up sidewalk to the very dark street. No words. And oh shoot. I need to go. Somebody take this up for a second. I have to go get a cord. My thing's gonna die. So I'll be right back.
I think like it's kind of a way of seeing it where, you know, Poppy doesn't belong in a way in this scene, because like if the bouncer says it and we all want to just kick him in the balls, but anyway. And, but then like that's how I feel like this scene is kind of playing out. It's like, you don't belong here, get out, you know, like you're not part of this darkness, you're in the light, you should be in the light. And that's kind of how I see it. And yeah, this dark street, and she's really the light. Yeah, I like that.
Her outfit and her demeanor and her appearance is too innocent and cutesy, like for her to be there.
Yeah.
Would you like me to continue or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we still on the same panel?
Yep.
Okay. Making sure. And then we're back to our inner monologue. And says, but maybe to a greater or lesser degree, so is everyone else. And I can't tell if she's tripping on like a street grate or just the cobblestone road, but something. Maybe she's stepping on her own heel. Been guilty of that myself. But her shoes are hella cute.
Yes.
She is killing them in those
I
pumps.
love these shoes.
She's gonna break somebody's neck with those.
Probably her own, but whatever.
She looks great. And she says, wah, and falls. And then the question is, will we ever stop running? Which is a great question because everybody runs. And now she's sitting in the street, very visibly upset, angry, mad. Her eyebrows are furrowed. And her thought bubble is very, oh, darn you, stupid nightclub. Yeah, and it wasn't the nightclub, it was the bouncer, but
I think
Medial.
she said nightclub because she feels very uncomfortable that whole situation. Like, I don't think that this is her usual
Mhm.
comfort level. So I think she just
Right.
Oh, yeah.
associates the whole nightclub with that discomfort and exclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're onto something with that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even look that exclusive. And now she's judging it by the way it looks. We got a lot of judging going on right here.
And I just want to like talk about her thought bubble for a second, because I think this whole thought bubble, to me at least, I think she's talking about like why Tora was avoiding her. I think she's recognizing that he's also running away from his problems and he can't deal with her.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. Okay, and how? Question mark. And then we see someone's knees coming into the screen, and she looks. Her face has changed slightly, barely, but slightly. And then we see the pan up, man. This whole buckle your seatbelts, folks, because you're going to be in for some serious squealy fingering, because we're going to get a slow burn pan up of the finest guys in there in the city. And I don't know if we're going to be able to like assess what's going on other than that. We get to see Poppy looks surprised because she hears somebody's voice is familiar. Hurt your leg. And I want to also like the little excerpt here. Guy in the hoodie has his head turned. Yeah, I don't know why my video keeps going away. Sorry. But his head is turned. He's looking away. And then we get to see Tora, the god, in all of his asymmetrical patent leather glory. And he looks like a snack because who you gotta have that like Dorito chip body A-line to be able to rock that asymmetricalness. His pants are so low. And I zoomed in because who didn't? And I think his belt buckle.
Oh. I've zoomed in on that belt buckle so many times.
It looks, I could be wrong. I think it looks like a gargoyle.
Yeah.
But gargoyles are protectors of something. I looked it up and I forgot. But they are ugly and they're protectors and nobody likes them, but they do their job and nobody appreciates it, kind of thing. I don't know. But we've got these fine guys, and it's been recognized and noticed that his backup guys are the same guys that were behind him in the pool scene where he smashed. He has a name with a pool stick.
Yeah, Yadori.
Neck tattoo guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The neck tattoo guy was definitely there on the other side. And then the blonde kid has a tattoo on his neck, but you can't tell if it's him because he's got his arm over his neck and like this, and you can't see his neck. And so, but I love that these background characters, I'm sorry, my kids are screaming in the house. They're so loud. And I love that she didn't just like make random background characters and like they're here again. Like maybe these guys have significance. I'm also wondering if these guys are the same two guys that were walking behind him when he was in Chevy's. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't think so. Definitely not the pink-haired guy, because I think I would have remembered him.
Oh yeah, that new guy. Probably not the same, but maybe the blonde guy.
And weren't these the guy in the pool hall? I mean, weren't they kind of like the Tora fan club?
Oh yeah, and they were like, "Ooh, Tora's gay," and he was like,
"Yeah,
maybe I didn't want to go to the alleyway and find out." And he was like, "I don't know, maybe I do. I don't know."
Going to the Chevy scene now. So so many people were like, oh my God, those guys! I can't have Tora, I'll have them. I didn't have any attraction to them because to me, they were like Tora's little sidekicks, and I knew from the pool scene that they were like this little squishy, I call them squishies, whatever, like, not so strong, right? Like younger acolytes.
Christina Egan has been calling them Tora's thuglets.
That is so cute.
Funniest thing. His little thuglets. And I think
that's perfect.
I know.
Well, he's talked about, he has a crew or his men, Gu's one of them.
These are the two guys, it's not them.
Oh, okay.
So it's neither of them, different hair, different everything.
Yeah, these must be some of those guys.
So now that we are still analyzing things, she says, no, just my ego, which fair. And she's got a little sweat mark. And gosh, he is so mesmerizing. And now the guys are looking somewhere else. You'll notice a theme. Never once do they look at her, which there's been theories. We'll get to that more in a minute. And then we zoom in on Tora's face. And god dang, he looks so good. Like, I have read through this series 800 times. And I haven't cried. I've been pretty level-headed with the whole thing. I had no tears. I mean, I was like, oh, that's kind of deep. These panels of scenes of Tora and his asymmetrical patent leather jacket did things to me. And that's hard to do because I don't react to things like this very often. But he looks great with his hair pulled up like that. It's similar to the way he had his hair pulled up in the pool hall, and I think that's why everyone was like, oh gosh, he looks so great.
Yeah.
And
I think it's even the same angle, like the very same expression, same angle. It's very much the same face.
and he says, then get your ass off the ground, you're late for your birthday party, kid. And there's been a lot of backlash about this. You can tell his face, he doesn't have a very mean expression, but his words are kind of harsh. And so there's been a lot of people that are like, wow, he's kind of being a jerk. But I think, and me and a lot of other people think that he's saying this because he's got his posse with him. And so he still kind of has to keep a little bit of a hard exterior, but then he reaches out to her and is gentle. But I did just notice that behind him, we have a guy, one of the guy was smoking a cigarette. You see one of his eyeballs and he's got the surprise marks. I didn't notice that before. So I wonder if he's surprised. I don't know. That he's speaking to her. He's like, oh, what? Like, I don't know. Nobody knows. But I did notice that. And she looks concerned, like, oh, you're speaking to me? Okay. And then he reaches his hand out and says, come on. And she's like, oh, you're being nice to me. This is so great. Oh my gosh. Are you still mad at me? Or what she says, you're not mad at me anymore. And he's like, who the hell said I was? And it must have like occurred to him that his distancing behavior, she must have interpreted as, you're mad at me. And he was like, anyway, it's your party, not mine. I'm just hitching a ride. Like he was like, who said that? And oh, my actions and behavior said that I was mad at you. I'm not. Sorry. I don't know how to express those very well. And yeah, her. I did just realize that I think I misinterpreted that.
What?
Who says what here?
What? Sorry.
I said, I think I misinterpreted who says what in this. Because I thought he said, anyway, it's your party, not mine. I'm just hitching a ride. But I think that's her saying that, not him.
I thought so.
Because then he says, yeah, hurry up.
So her birthday's already passed, and really it's his birthday. And even though it's a combo for Quincy for both of them, I think they're talking.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I mean, that's at least what I think. But
yeah.
But
okay.
I feel like we haven't spent enough time like melting over Tora's appearance.
Appreciating.
Oh my God.
I've been trying to use it as a dialogue so we could go back up and swoon and fangirl over his attire.
I do think this is in the top 3 hottest Toras ever. I really do. It might even be top 1.
Oh my God. I think I stopped this and I was like, oh man, he's effing hot or something. It like took my breath away. And I'm not even into the look.
I was nursing my baby to sleep and I was reading it. And I was sitting there in the dark bedroom scrolling through it. And he shows up and I was like, holy shit. Like, that's what I said out loud in the bedroom in the dark. I was like, oh my God. Is that allowed? Who said you could wear that, first of all?
I know.
Damn, girl.
That jacket, I'm telling you.
That chest, like that built chest showing through. Oh, God.
It is broad shoulders. See, I appreciate the fact that he's shaped like a Dorito, because my husband is also shaped like a Dorito. And it goes back to that like buffness thing. And so, man, I appreciate the shape of his trunk. And I'm wondering if his pants are also leather. We can hope. I don't think they are, but like
look more cloth.
Fingers are crossed.
You notice there's like a little space between the bottom of his jacket and like the top of his pants, and it's like white over there. I don't think it's a skin. I don't know. Maybe it's his underwear.
Maybe it's a
I mean,
tank top, because if that's a leather jacket, I can tell you from experience, you don't want to wear leather with nothing underneath it.
Yeah.
That's a miserable.
his shirt is like, we see a little bit of a shirt later and it's like, it's black, but whatever it is, there's not a lot of space there. And if he picks up his hands, something will be showing, and it should be
We're gonna be
showing.
seeing that be.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Let's hope he did a little manscaping, because he's gonna be showing off a lot more than I think he wants to, because if he didn't. Or he can just keep his arms down. That's another option.
So actually, you know, speaking of like clothing coming on and going off and seeing things, so you were talking about like how possibly this might be the scene of like Secret Garden 77. So somebody, 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏, actually, no, she didn't say this, sorry. Olga, she actually looked at that Secret Garden and she's like, the pile of clothing on the floor was different clothing. so it's not. Either that or Lily's just gonna backtrack it and fit it in whether or not they're wearing the same clothing.
So many zippers on it. There's even zippers on the sleeve right here when he reaches his hand out. There's a zipper. I'm like, did I play with all your zippers?
Very nice outfit to play with, just saying.
Yeah.
A lot of people have wondered if Quincy picked us up for him, and I genuinely think that this was something that was like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm wearing this. Like, maybe Quincy was like, a little bit of say, but I think Tora was like, no, bro, I gotta handle this. Is what I'm wearing. I'm gonna wear a
Not choose this. Quincy would choose something with flowers and frills and lace.
Yeah, or bright or something. And gosh, he looks like every boy dream ever.
What's the old movie with Marlon Brando where he wears the down the waterfront? This is how old I am. But Marlon Brando, when he was young and hot, there's that motorcycle jacket. It's almost the same style with this, like the moto style. Darn, I can't think of the movie.
Actually, you're funny. Yeah, it's something down on the waterfront.
Down on the waterfront, I think.
I never watched it, but I once read a biography of Marlon Brando. So anyway, because he was pretty, it's ridiculous. I was like 17. I'm like, this actor who's probably dead by now, he's pretty. I'm going to read a biography about him. But this old 50 year in the year of the past. So, but it's funny you mentioned movies because Clyde, sorry. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Go Marlon.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just typed in Marlon Brando motorcycle jacket and shut up.
I mean, Tora's like 1,000 times hotter, but just whatever the jacket reminded me. I'm like, that looks like.
Oh, here we go. Better view. Hold on. Maybe I can zoom in.
That's the jacket.
Yeah.
That's almost exactly it too.
So Clyde was actually talking about this movie. I haven't seen the movie, but she says that it reminded her a lot of the movie Dirty Dancing, where he picks up his hand and he's like, nobody puts my baby in the corner. We're like, he's about to rescue her from not being admitted to the club. He's like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And speaking of clothes, 𝗏𝗏𝗱𝗏𝗍, who's been on the podcast before, she said this really nice point. She looked at all the clothing that he's worn. And she talked about like when, the sweatshirt, the Superman sweatshirt that he gave her, the fact that Martin told them you're wearing inappropriate attire. Vincent said wear a suit for the next clan meeting. The fact that he was like, okay, I'll take party clothes, all his different shoes, the experimenting with his look when he was a teenager, the dino t-shirts. She says that, Tora use his clothing as a way of, first of all, expressing himself and asserting what little control he has over his life. And also a way of like differentiating himself from the clan. He uses it to stick out from the clan and not like blend in. So I like that, and this is like, yeah, definitely a Tora outfit. Intimidating, tough, and sexy as hell.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Poppy, this is like what, I don't know, embarrassing situation number whatever. She's always getting caught in these, like falling out of the tree or
tripping over her foot and falling into the street.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel so bad for her. She's always getting caught in these like awkward, clumsy situations.
Yeah, I mean, her mom said, right, she said that her mom said she had to wear a helmet when she was younger because she was always like bumping into things.
Yep.
The mom, which
Yeah.
one of whom is in line, of course, as we know, but watching her repeat her
Yes.
childhood self.
Yeah.
So actually, a little bit going to what you were,
Seats.
oh, sorry. Can I say some things
Okay.
about her? Yeah, so when you were saying that some people had objected to the way Tora talked to her, get your ass off the ground. So I want to talk about some people's comments about this. So besides for what you said about him, I think what you said, like he can't show feelings for her in front of everybody because he's a run of the clan and like he doesn't want to put a target on her back. So a couple of people said that. And then 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗃 said that he might want to be, and Lily kind of confirmed this, in the Patreon, she said like, he might not want her to like fall into self-pity and like, it's like a tough love. Like, you fell off the bike. Okay, we're not going to go start crying for ourselves now. Let's just get up. And, he wants to like also make light of it, maybe not embarrass her and, not treat it like a big deal. Like, okay, let's move on. This is whatever. Let's just go on. And yeah, okay.
Good, Lizanna.
Okay, well, we'll continue until she goes on. So
yeah.
anyway, so Anna? Okay.
Nothing. It's okay.
So there's this really lovely panel of 𝗵𝗵 taking Tora's hand, and it's like really nice symbolism. He's helping her up. He's gonna guide her into this world. And actually, I'm gonna talk about like Lady Libra says something amazing, but I'll talk about it like after kind of towards the end of the episode. So Anna's gone.
Anna dropped.
Oh no.
Let me just check the text messages to see if she's saying anything. Hi, Anna. Okay. We will continue. Hope you come on.
I'm looking
So-
for a pair of her shoes, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Her power cut out. She's going to come back. So now we see, this whole line. We see Tora has basically cut in front of the line with his two guys behind him. Actually, it's a whole group of guys. And he gives the bouncer this. It's so funny because in this expression, I actually think he has a very wide, like childlike look, but it's definitely like some kind of confrontational look. And 𝗵𝗵 is like all shy in the background, and his posse behind him is definitely giving threatening looks. And Mr. Bouncer and other bouncer are like, sweat.
Welcome back.
Sorry, I lost power, and so I don't have internet. I can't use my iPad anymore, but I have phone service, so I'm on my phone.
Awesome. You, Anna?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
The power's back on, but the internet isn't. We have like 800-mile-an-hour winds today, so that's probably something to do with it. I don't know.
Okay, well, glad you could come back on.
Me too.
Yeah, so we just went one panel ahead. That's all. So yeah, if you want to continue where the guys are complaining about them cutting in line.
You want me to, or do you want?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to go on my phone, so my video is going to cut, but I should still have audio. Is that okay?
So maybe should I just summarize it? So that we
Sure.
like don't
Yeah.
lose your video. Okay. Okay. So then the people online are upset and they're like, dude, what the fuck? I've been waiting for hours. We've been waiting for hours. They just stroll right in. And this lady is dressed much more revealingly than 𝗵𝗵. So you get the decor, the expected dress. And someone's like, damn, those punks look like volumen. Let's go. If I'm staying here when there's a whole group of them around. So again, intimidating people that the reputation precedes them. And they just go right in, they're not stopped. And now we see like, again, that same kanji, which I think means fallen. And they're going down the steps. And you notice, I bet that those guys are like really avoiding looking at them. Like they're never looking at Tora and 𝗵𝗵. They're always looking to the side. And they're going down the steps and, stepping on the floor. And this is really like, it's this bluish tone. And it looks like they're in a cave now. And 𝗵𝗵 is looking around and she's like, whoa, what is this place? She's very impressed. And she's like, have you been here before? You ever been here before? And she's like a little nervous because, she stammers. And he's like, yeah, a few times. And then you see the in like neon lights lettering, and it says, literally translated for us, fallen angels. So there's so much to say about fallen angels. What do you guys make of the fact that this is called fallen angels?
So my first initial reaction to fallen angels was the first fallen angel was Lucifer. And I kind of ruminated on that for a while, and that didn't really fit the bill that I wanted to assign to the episode. So I went, maybe that's not it. And I thought about how a few episodes ago, he felt that Poppy was an angel in his eyes, and how she is falling into his world now, kind of. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't think it has to. I mean, maybe it has to do with him, but I think it has more to do with her falling into his darkness, and she's the light in his world, and he's the dark shadow in her world. I don't know. That's kind of where I feel.
That's a good one.
Like a yin yang kind of thing.
That's actually, I want to go into Lady Libra's comments at the end. But I think, yeah, I think that, like, for me, fallen angels is like, I do think that it could also be very well describing Torah, because, angels are like this quintessential good thing. A fallen angel is someone who is, made a mistake and gone and sinned against God and rebelled against God. In John Milton, if you're going to go with that, in John Milton's Paradise Lost, Lucifer rebels against God basically because he'd rather be, burned in hell the whole time than serve someone else. He's very independent. So, and, he ends up being like the hero of the story, according to many people, because we admire that independent streak in him. And Torah definitely has that independent streak where he wishes he didn't have to, serve Vincent. But also, like, I just saw it as like Torah is really an angel inside, and he's fallen, he's made mistakes, and he's in a situation where he has to do bad things, but he's really an angel inside. And Patty was pointing out that Poppy's his angel, but she's also has her inner demons that she has to fight. And someone was pointing out they thought that the thing on his belt was actually a demon, which would also be something that Tora could see himself as.
Yeah,
Lily was
the fact that they're going down into a cave. You think about the underworld, the underground, Hades. I mean, there's just a lot of connotation to like them, this descent into an underground cave where it's dark. There's just a lot of symbolism in it, the whole thing.
Yep.
Something else I just thought about to go along with your analysis of fallen angel, with Lucifer and the church kind of thing. Gargoyles, going back to the gargoyle belt buckle question mark, if that's what it is. I've also seen other people think that maybe it was a devil. Gargoyles are usually found on churches, and they protect the churches from evil stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, when I was very trying to zoom in really close to the belt buckle, I mean, I thought it was a demon, or even there's a part of it that almost looked like a tail coming off to one side. Well, maybe it's an Asian style dragon, but I really think the more you have talked about it, I mean, the gargoyle fits with what it kind of looks like, and then also the symbolism behind it too. I think there's so much.
I could be totally wrong. Nobody knows.
It makes so much sense to me.
Right. And, if you talk about the fact that like she's descending into his world, Lily was pointing out that, he ascended to her world when he ascended to the rooftop, and like the rooftop was filled with light. And so, yeah, it's a total contrast, like her world and his world.
Yeah.
And yeah. So,
well, we're not even in the club yet, and I feel like this is going to be an epic place too. I mean, you just look at all the blue lights, and it's really like atmospheric. Yeah, I can't wait to see what it actually looks like. I'm like, there's two things, that and the dress reveal. I'm like so excited.
has like a pink choker around her neck, and Clyde has done a bunch of illustrations of possible, like, she's so cute, like she's like, pink on top and like little ruffles on bottom, and like she's done like different illustrations of what it could look like. So cute.
Something else that I want to bring up here too, in the hallways, in the stairwell, is So if you go back to the street scene, that the people that are in color, I'm going to assume, are Tora's thuglings. And there's 5 of them. 3 of them that you see most readily, and there's 2 more that are in color. Their outfits are colored. So I'm going to assume that there's 5. And then as they descend the stairs, when they get to the bottom, it's just Tora and Poppy. And I am on the MPL Rambling chat, and Tina, I'm sorry, Tina, I'm gonna butcher your name. 𝗪𝗏𝗱𝗲, you can yell at me for that one. She told me, we were discussing this after the episode, and she said that she wanted to point it out that Tora's crew was probably there so that Tora could let loose a little, and they stayed on intervening floors, and it seemed to only be Poppy and Tora together at the bottom. So the 3 or 5 of them are doing the job that Tora usually does by himself. And that could be why they were looking anywhere other than Poppy, because she's obviously not a threat, and that's what they're looking out for, is so that Tora doesn't have to do all of he can focus on her and him and not have to constantly be watching his back to make sure that he's safe as well. So I thought that was really interesting that they didn't completely descend with him. Maybe they'll catch up, maybe they won't. But right now they're on different parts of the stairwell behind him because he can't see behind him. So I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to share that with you guys.
That's really cool.
Also, you know how he says, "Oh, I'll send my men to, keep watch the building. I'll send my men to do, whatever." My men came into that to search Poppy's office. Maybe these are like his men. Guys he's in charge of. That's smart. Well, and by the way, we see Tora's shoes again. We've seen these shoes before. I think he wore them. Oh, never mind. I don't remember, but we've seen them before.
He wore them when they went to Alice's.
Awesome. Thank you. We should have we should have a calendar just of Tora's shoes. January, February, March.
Yeah.
We're like, and then people come to the room and we don't have to hide it. We're like, oh, this is just, we're shoe fans. That's all. We love shoes. So Poppy's looking around and she's looking like, impressed. She's like, whoa, what is this place? Have you ever been here before? Yeah, a few times. Okay, so it's ready. She's like, with Quincy, and then Tora's like, who else? Cute. Clearly he's not a party guy. Only Quincy drags him like, Tora, please, you gotta come with me. Or like he's his bodyguard, so he has to come. And now,
and
like,
on the lap.
Who else? My non-existent girlfriend? Rab. Oh, and Poppy's like, but he's like, hold on to me. The ground's uneven. Sure, Tora. That's why. I mean, she is wearing heels like that. Honestly, even on a smooth floor, you are very likely to fall over in them. She's like, oh, okay. Blushing as she should. So cute. Walking along, they're so adorable. There's such a contrast. He's huge, biker thug, and she's in like this frilly pink outfit and a bow in her hair, tiny little thing, and it's such a cute contrast. Love them so much.
I also appreciate
her blush.
He inadvertently confirmed that he's single. Like he was like, my girlfriend. She was like, well, that's right, you don't have one. But I do want to say on that note, he looks hella fine. Actually, I'll save it for the end, for the roundup. It would be better to do it then. So remind me when we get there. I'll write it down.
So now he's like, oh, this one's just a man-made cave, but it leads to a real one. Whoa, that's so cool. I've always wanted to go spelunking. And he's like, yeah, you can spelunk all you want in there. And he's like, that's not even a word. Want to bet? Sure, I'll bet you 5 sticky pads. Do you want them in pink or green? It's like, are you kidding me? Everyone knows that sticky pads must always be in pink. I'll accept nothing less. She's like stationary snob. It's really cute. It's like cute banter between them. And here you see like the black tank top that he's wearing. So it is not white, but whatever it is, it's a very low cut tank top. And he's like, oh, it's just up ahead, and you see this, like, it looks really, like you were saying, atmospheric. It looks really cool, like blue lighting. Then these torches in the beginning, and then people noticed noticed this little thing in the front, and Poppy's like, holy fudge biscuits, right? They're like, wait, is it a dismembered foot? And like, we had someone even outline it, you know, the toes, like, is it Goliath's foot? You know, but Lily said it's just a mistaken rendering and to not paying attention to it. But maybe it's the unconscious working through Lily's, it's making noise, working through Lily's pen. So I want to read at this point, Lady Libris wrote this amazing like analysis, like a general summary of this like whole incident. She said that Tora is taking Poppy's hand and he's guiding her into this world, and Poppy's accepting him, and he's like, she's not being dragged into the world. She's going willingly, and like she's being guided by Tora, you know, and would make sense that he would need to guide her because he's the one, experienced one. And, you know, he wrestled with what it means for her to become part of his dark and twisted world. And, you know, she's still like on the beach, right? She's the light, right? Everywhere. She's like, what he sees to her, he thinks of like light. And, you know, he's the dark, and like you said, the yin and the yang. And here you see here, they're pausing before they're entering, because it's like a major threshold that they're about to cross. Like she really is entering his world, metaphorically and physically. Like this is the clan, you know, probably gonna be a lot of clan people there. And I suspect there'll be some nice violence there, which will maybe put them together and lead to some romance. So exciting. So yeah, it's beautiful. I love it.
Also, a continuation error. His jacket zipper is on the wrong side. I'm just anal. It doesn't mean anything. It just means wrong.
Image left or something.
It's okay to make errors. My brain just got hooked on it for a second. It's all right.
Yeah, that's cute. Lily says that she's not very like good at these little details. That's cute. It must be very hard.
Her realistic realism in her art form. It reminds us that she's a human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it takes like weeks to finish these episodes, sometimes like more than that. And I mean, you know, she could be working on one day on one panel and another day on the other. And I mean, you just don't remember like, oh yeah, I was on the right side instead of the left side. So, I mean, we totally forgive her, because I mean, who cares? I mean, look at this art. I mean, you can't even, I can't even compare. So I could never draw like that. That's it, you know? So, yeah.
Okay, so something that also Lily said, people were asking like, oh, isn't it dangerous for him to hold her hand? If you notice, he only holds her hand by the time they get down the steps, and you said like the guys are not there anymore, like whether they're gonna join them, like they're not there, so he's only holding her hand when nobody's watching. And did you also notice the surprise marks if you go back to the panel where they're yet again not looking at her? Where is it when he says I think it's when he says, get your ass off the ground, right? The guy behind him has like these 3 marks over there. He's like that. So, yeah, we'll probably see more about what that means later. So guys, are you like mad excited about the next episode?
Yes.
Very.
I totally thought, by the way, that this club thing was going to be like, since it's like later in the episode, I thought it was going to be like 5 episodes later. I was not expecting it to come this episode. Like, yes.
Same here.
Surprise.
Yeah. It came up really fast.
I'm glad she didn't, it wasn't like weird. Like, it wasn't like, oh, and there was nothing. I love how she segued into it, but didn't waste like a month getting to it. I hate it when there's something going on in Webtoon and the author takes like 2 actual months to get there.
Yeah.
It drives me. I'm like, I've lost interest.
I see those comments a lot about Lily where people say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you didn't draw this out, because it's so true. There's so many Webtoons where I've kind of like almost given up reading because the romance is like 80 chapters in and they just held hands. Like, you're like, come on, move it on. But I mean, even just like simple little plot points can go like 5-6 chapters, and you're like, it's very frustrating. But I love that she just moves the story along.
It's good like in pacing, but also you know, I find it's always kind of, even with her episodes, like I feel like even the romance is still kind of extended, even though we've seen like them kiss and whatever, but it's still taking its time to get to somewhere, which is because of their situation, because the way like, you know, Tora has this life and Poppy's got a life, and it just like, I don't know, even though for them the timeline is kind of quick actually. The story I find is kind of drawing out at a good pace, and even with this, you know, and even though we've seen like weeks later we're having this party, it's still like taking its time, even though yeah, I like that. I like her pacing. For sure.
It's like significant change. It's taking its time with significant milestones in what's happened. And I feel like a lot of other stories, they would still be at Alice's restaurant at this point. And so I just, yeah, I mean, taking the time, but she's actually focusing on the development of the little moments that have happened over this, like, I mean, maybe a month now since they met. It's still.
I think for 3 weeks.
3 weeks, probably.
3, yeah, something like that.
Lily actually pointed, we have a lot of people who tried to piece together like the timeline, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Lily is like, and I was like, I don't think the days line up, and then Lily confirmed this. She's like, I'm not too good at days, so I just try to make sure that the weekends are like the same, consistent. Like, let's not sweat our heads about this.
I mean, I don't even think, I honestly don't think Lily even dissects her work as much as we do, to be honest. So, I mean, who knows?
So I want to say this comment, like I missed it earlier. Nordor had this really good comment, and she said that she pointed out the contrast between how Poppy and Tora arrive at the club. So Poppy comes to the club, and this birthday party is like for her, right? Like she's the one who her friends were like trying to make up for missing her birthday, and she still arrives alone. And Tora, who's not the social butterfly, the guy is usually alone, he comes with like a whole group of people. And, you know, like she falls down, she has no one to catch her there. She thinks she's all alone, like she's frustrated, but then Tora comes and he helps her. And, you know, like, you know, he's being supportive for her, like, just like she's there for him and wants to support him. He's also there for her. And Patty also pointed out that like, this is just a very, you know, good thing. Like it's okay to fall down and you just get up again. There's a classic Jewish phrase, 𝗪𝗵𝗱 𝗪𝗂𝗽𝗆, kind of like you fall down 7 times and you still get up again. And like the point is the getting up, like the major victory is like, even if you fall down again and again and you could become disheartened, you keep getting up again.
So you mentioned that, and now I'm wondering, where are her friends? What happened? Why aren't they going together? Yeah, what happened to them? I mean, that's kind of weird, actually, now that I think was it all planned out like this? You know, I don't know.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Anything like urgent to say before we close out?
I just really hope that whatever Poppy Lana's wearing isn't like a square box, because she's got kryptonite. And Tora is going to have every set of eyes, male and him. And if she doesn't look as good as he does, he's going to get sucked away in a sea of arousal. I don't know, but I'm sure hoping that Lily doesn't disappoint, which I'm sure she won't, but like, I cannot wait to see what she's wearing.
I hope her dress is so hot that he takes his jacket off and puts it over her shoulders because he doesn't want anybody else to see her in it.
Masculine panic.
I can't wait to see his face. I just can't. As we say every week, is it Friday yet?
I know, right?
Awesome. Whew. Well, thank you guys so much. This was amazing. Thank you so much, Molly,
Yes.
Josalynn, Anna, for coming on and sharing your awesome insights. This was fun and great and awesome and thrilling.
Always fun.
Yep.
Thanks so much. I'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.